Greetings, this is Cody Lawrence. I'm back. I just released a podcast episode today and yesterday, so be sure to check those out. I had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope you did as well. But today, I have a really exciting story to tell you. I was at Dillon's in Leavenworth, Kansas. Leavenworth, Kansas? Missouri? I think it's Kansas. Anyway, don't recommend it just because the story I'm about to tell you. It blew my mind. So here we go. I went there for a COVID antibody test because me and my wife were just curious if we happen to have antibodies for COVID. And we show up at the Dillon's at the pharmacy, and immediately we're not sure where to stand because they have a pickup and a drop-off line. So we pick one, and we go to the line, and then this lady who just looks like she's miserable is like, come on up. And so we walk up to the counter, and she's like, "What's your birthday?" She sounds like she's been smoking for 50 years. That's why I'm making her voice sound like this. It's female, but it sounds almost identical to the voice that I'm giving her right now. So she's like, "Birthday." And I'm like, well, I give her my birthday. I'm like, but we're here for a test. We're not here for picking stuff up. And she doesn't respond, and she just like kind of rolls her eyes and then walks over and gets two pads of paper and puts them on clipboards and throws them at us and is like, "You need to do this and this and this." And then doesn't give us any more information. Whatever, that's fine. Some people just hate their jobs and hate life and want everybody else to hate their lives too, so that's fine. Anyway, we fill out the sheet and we go back, and I made the irredeemable error of accidentally on my sheet marking that I have come in contact with with somebody else with COVID. Now, I haven't, but truth be told, no, I haven't as far as I know, but truth be told, probably everybody there has brushed shoulders with somebody who has or had COVID recently, just on the way into work that day, into the Dillon's, because they're in a grocery store where they allow people with masks who are potentially sick. Weird. Anyway, so I accidentally mark yes, and then the girl who takes my paper, who's a different girl, is like, "Ooh, sorry, can't let you take the test." And I'm like, oh, and then I think about it. I'm like, oh, dang, actually I haven't come in contact with anybody. And she persists. She's like, "Nope, sorry, can't do it." And it sounds like she's rehearsing some kind of script from some customer service or customer anti-service class that she's been through. Because no matter what I ask her and no matter what I say, like, "Well, look, can you just give me a new sheet of paper and I'll redo the thing and then I'll give it back to you and you can let me take the test," because I drove 40 minutes to get here because it was the only test around. And I'm not going to come back. Can I just take it? Because I haven't actually come in contact with anybody with COVID, as far as I know. But honestly, you probably did just as much as me on the way into this grocery store. But she would not relent. She kept going. "Nope, can't do it." So anyway, eventually she did what she should have done and said, "Well, you could talk to the pharmacy head or whatever." And I was trying to be polite, although I was a little frustrated, and I probably honestly got a little too frustrated. But this isn't the best part of the story, so just hear me out. I recognize my sins. I was a little frustrated. I talked to the pharmacy head, or he kind of leans over and he's like, "Yeah, it's just a company policy." That's all I needed to hear. Once he said it's a company policy, I'm like, oh, well, she's not just being ridiculous. It's a company policy. It's a stupid policy, but, I can argue with reason, but I can't argue with stupid policies because they have to follow it just because they're employees there. Anyway, that's aside the point. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I kind of frustrated. I had a gaiter on below my nose the whole time, mind you, and I pull it down because I'm like, you know what? These guys aren't going to help me, so I'm not going to help them. And I don't think, by the way, it's immoral to not wear a mask, and I think I have very good reasons to believe that, but just hear me out. So I pull my mask down, and I'm sitting there, and first woman comes over. the first woman who like is miserable and hates her life. She walks over and she's like, you gotta pull your mask up over your face. And I stand there shaking my head like this, as if to indicate to her, no, I don't. And then she's like, seriously? She says, seriously? I'm like, yeah, it's not the law. And it's not. So anyway, here's the best part. A woman a little farther back in the pharmacy, she has a mask on just like everybody else. And she grabs her mask and pulls it down. I can see her chin. She pulls it off of her face. And she's like, you gotta put your mask up. It's our policy. It might not be the law, but it's our policy. And as soon as she pulled her mask down off of her face, it's like the stars aligned. It's like my mind was blown. It's like I stepped into an alternate dimension. And, I had to point it out. I was like, lady, you just took off your mask to tell me to put mine on. And then she said in response, she was like, a little like flustered because she obviously erred. So anyway, she pulls her mask down and is like, it's our policy. And I'm like, lady, you just pulled your mask down to tell me that to put mine on. And she's like, well, I'm getting out of here in a couple minutes, so it's fine. As if that makes it okay. Incidentally, I was just about to leave myself. So by her own argument, she admitted that it's okay to take your mask off if you're just about to leave a place. And so I said, well, okay, I'm about to leave too. You want to walk out together? And she's like, yeah, let's walk out together. I'll meet you in the parking lot. None of it made any sense, which leads me to the firm conclusion that anybody who thinks it's necessary to wear a mask is a horrible, horrible hypocrite. I've seen not such a blatant example as that, but I have seen many examples, probably 100% of the people who I know who believe strongly that wearing a mask is like morally or medically or whatever necessary, they're not totally consistent with it. And so if you're one of those people with this belief, think about it. Do you adjust your mask? Does it ever slip, and do you ever touch it at all throughout the day while you're wearing it? If you do, the germs collect on your mask, right? And so if you touch it and you touch anything else, which I know you do, it's just like you're licking doorknobs or you're licking whatever else you're touching because it catches the germs. You're touching your mask and you touch other stuff. It's true. Anyway, so man, we got to be consistent. And it seems to me that the only actual consistent and intellectually honest thing to do is to not wear a mask. This has been Cody Lawrence. Catch you next time.